50-year events, 20-year events, and 100-year events.
Will you have enough storage space to put all that water in there? I heat that up.
Yes. So Tinley was a challenge because it's a dead flat foxhole landing.
Right.
So quite literally, we designed the underground vault to be gravity drained to the area of what's called outfall. Outfall is where it leaves your site and plugs into a greater network for stormwater to go. So that vault at Tinley encompasses 100% of the existing conditions, and it accounts for the building expansions in 2018. Plus,
I'm sorry, the vault, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna only be as good as what's downstream and what you're tapping into for that water to run to, correct?
that's correct.
So are we working with the Fourth Reserve District, making sure that their end can handle what's in our vault going to the, you see what I'm saying?
I do. Every site has the same outfall and source to where the water goes runs to. In this case, the Forest Reserve District, they're aware of the conditions. So we are less than what the flow rate would be today with this whole design. So on implementing the underground storage, we're going to be introducing less waters to the Forest Reserve side than would be today.
Nice. That's good.
So it is, the Forest Reserve District is aware of the challenge because we have to get effectively water to drain 2 feet and roughly 3,000 feet, if anybody can picture how shallow that is. But yeah, we're working with them for information.
So that's not going to cause any erosion or fault problems. It's not violating faults or anything like that.
Faults.
Like
Settlement?
like settlement or
Yeah.
don't want to have sinkholes or
No.
any of that.
No, so no sinkholes, no sediment, but what it does, if you allow water to sit on any site, eventually you just attract wetland species. If you don't address it, and those species take hold of that ground, then effectively what you're doing is cultivating a wetland on your property. That's the biggest risk that we face in this region when it's a floodplain. At some point, if you don't address it, then it becomes part of nature, and when it becomes part of nature, then you're going to be can't do. We're going to switch schools if anybody has any questions. Bremen High School. Very similar. Although this area here is the freshman softball field, I'm going to switch to a model. You'll notice that that freshman softball field is in the exact location that we're planning in addition. That beige area is similar as where we're planning that future addition. This phase, upon completion, our goal is to rebuild the freshman softball field in addition to the football field. The field will have a rock reservoir very similar to Tinley Park. We are doing a parking lot expansion in Park, and we're evaluating all of the parking lots at all 4 schools to recapture some efficiency into the parking layout and the drive aisle widths so that we don't trigger that critical component of the impervious material. Once you expand a parking lot, it's similar to expanding a building, and so it's all packaged into the 5-year plan to improve everything that we're touching. So I think the district should be very excited about all the good solutions that are going to be implemented in the next few years. Let's see. Yeah. So you might not be able to see it, but the parking lot configuration really is going to cater to this triangulated area that's going to be additional classroom, addition spaces, as well as this field house pad. And this is what the football field's going to look like upon completion. Any questions on Bremen?
The cafeteria again?
Yeah, it's down the line. So that's here, or if I'm not mistaken.
Real fast, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Isn't the ad center like right next to that, or where does the ad center fall in all this?
At center. Oh, yeah, so, let's see, that's, I can't, yeah, so this is the parking lot, and that's the ad center here, in the
Okay.
bottom corner of the site. There's no impact to that per se.
Okay.
We're looking at the
I was
parking
just curious, sorry.
driveway just north of that. I'm going to switch to Hillcrest. That's an aerial view, and you can see that it's urban planning is caught up to Hillcrest. We are working with agencies to not only identify what the stormwater regulation is on our site, but we're also accepting stormwater from other sites onto the property. It happens. And so, what's also unique to Hillcrest is the stormwater flow around the building in the cruciform shape runs north. And it routes like a drawbridge or a moat all the way around the school. The challenge with the planning of the building pad, I'm going to switch to the model, was to make sure that we don't interrupt that flow of water. So there's the building pad. This is the improvements in the football field. Similar to the other schools, we're going to reevaluate the parking, but what's unique to Hillcrest is we are going to implement a greater vault, a different system. This is an engineered system that creates chambers, open air chambers, which makes it a more efficient design. Only unique to Hillcrest, only because of the grade elevations and the invert elevation and the network of storm piping that we have to connect to on the village side. This vault system is about the most efficient you can get. It's an open air system. It creates a tunnel chamber to where water can fill. And then above that, it creates a stone layer that supports the new field. So effectively, upon completion of all 4 campuses with all rock reservoirs and chamber vaults, you have a 24-hour field surface that can take all the abuse Mother Nature can throw at it, all the abuse of the academic program can throw at it, and still maintain itself, right? So, upon our goal for phase 1 really is going to be identify what kind of soil is going to be excavated from the building pad to make sure that it's very efficient for use as a permanent building, address all the stormwater detention issues, and then create a time-effective management system to get a head start on the building additions themselves. Do you have any questions?
Are you going to be ready to slate on and lay it off?
Yes. August 10th.
August 10th, all this will be done on all 4 phases. When y'all start? When y'all start with this?
Tomorrow. Dirt goes tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, talk about the quality of the turf a little bit.
Quality of the turf? The question was the quality of the turf. I'm not going to say usual standard because there is no usual standard, but what's unique to this district is you've got a slit film playing surface that is considered top performance, which has a FIFA star rating, which people that know turf fields know that it's a playing surface that is appropriate for professional play. Okay, so the surface itself is high performance. The infill system is a crumb rubber in combination to a shock pad. Now, most districts use a crumb rubber as their only safety and playing surface so that it prevents injuries, but the district is implementing a redundant shock pad system that is safer play. What's common to synthetic turf fields, we found that if you don't maintain them properly and the crumb rubber piles into mounds because there's splash and movement on the field based on football, soccer, lacrosse, the shock pad makes up the difference. So it's in combination, it's one of the safest fields you can implement today. In addition to that, we've been working with our civil engineer to make sure that the perviousness of the synthetic field doesn't obstruct the stormwater management design we have for the rest of the campus. Any other questions? Oh, forest. Yeah, thank you. Oh, forest. Yes. Oak Forest is a little different. What you can't see is Oak Forest has got wetland. Documented. Army Corps of Engineer, wetland, and it's about here. I'm going to go to an aerial of what Oak Forest looks like. There we go. 45-degree angle. I can point to it. The parking lot, that's the west parking lot. I'll call that west. East of the building is where pedestrians would migrate from the parking lot onto the field. This is a straight line tennis court, but know that we're planning a building addition to come off the northeast corner. Now I'm going to switch back to the model. That's it, this beige area. So we're going to implement a pedestrian walkway that's going to get people to and from activities to the east side of the school. We're going to restack the tennis courts so that we can accommodate some natural detention, avoid the wetlands because that's very expensive to remediate. And we're going to build a rock reservoir similar to Tinley in Bremen. Oak Forest will also improve some water mains on site, some sanitary. We're going to fix some problems that have occurred over time. That north part of the building is going to be overlaid on an area that's got a sanitary main owned by the city, as well as some water mains. So we're going to relocate, move, and adjust those utilities to accommodate the future. There's also going to be a new driveway that's going to be implemented on Long Avenue. This is going to allow service vehicles and access to the field that you don't have today, as well as implement and reconfigure some of the parking lot that's on the east side of the building here. And we're going to allow some emergency vehicles to get in and out quicker than what exists today. Yeah, this is only phase one. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
When will the addition start to begin?
When will the addition start?
Yeah.
So, weather depending, we're planning on making this a year-long construction project where we're going to implement late summer phase 2 drawings. That would be foundation, walls. So I would look for that about midsummer.
Midsummer?
Dr. Kendall, I got a question. Do we have any contingency plans in case, weather holds us up during the summer and, we can't play at our fields and they're not ready by August 10th?
Other than playing at the same road.
So we would just switch them to probably more away games.
Right. But they keep promising everything's positive so far, right?
We have facing on it, so identify what is going to be captured by construction versus there's phasing plans that allow what's accessible during construction versus
Thank you.
Move on to comments from the public. Did you have any?
Ms. Flores? Hello, I am Shane, senior at Rush High School. My name is Stephanie Flores.
You're right. Why don't you just tell me? Is that right? Yeah. Go ahead.
So, my presentation today is the towards the performing arts in all 4 districts. Right now, I have been experiencing throughout all my 4 years at Bremen High School. There's been a lack of communication throughout for funding for the performing arts, and as well as just we haven't been accommodated for stuff, for resources that we would like or that we need. So for example, our curtains were replaced years ago because another group destroyed our curtains. Now these curtains are not necessarily for performing arts, they're on the stage, and they were only replaced because another group destroyed it. Not because we needed it, but because another group did it. A few years back as well, before my time, our microphones were stolen from us. And when we requested, before this incident happened, to receive new microphones, that question was shut down. But once the microphones were disappeared, they were replaced. So my issue is that in all of those 4 districts, we feel that the performing arts are not well accommodated, we're not being listened to, and there's also the lack of funding. Now, it is understandable because there is a large amount of athletics students around, and that's why we are receiving the field house, that's why we are accommodating more of them. But I would also like to issue that by not funding for the performing arts, we are limiting the students in all 4 schools. We are not able to have them experience public speaking or practices. As well, it's just students right now are limited in the band because we have instruments that we are not allowed, we do not have the funds for to fix them. Now, instruments cost thousands of dollars. So, one student cannot play a bari saxophone because they cannot afford it. And if we have a bari saxophone in one of our schools, the student cannot play with it correctly because it is either cannot work or it is destroyed. With the funding issue, if we had the funding for the symphonic band to fix those instruments, then those students will be allowed to use them. Recently, I had a meeting with Dr. Kendall, and I issued my concerns of what we are having in the stage. And I have some pictures right here. So, right now, these are the bottom of our doors at Bremen. These doors at the bottom were replaced. So these are the doors at Bremen Performing Arts, or the stage doors. The bottom of it is made out of metal, but that was replaced. So this metal right here is not what the doors were originally. And so, see here. And this is the tearing that those metal doors caused throughout the years. So this is right now at the edges of our stage. And due to this tearing that our stage has now, the doors have become not able to close properly. Because of that, students are no longer allowed to close the doors by themselves. And in the past, due to that metal, at the bottom of our doors, a student actually snatched one of her fingers, and blood was all over the stage. And blood was there for about 3 years before we painted over it. As well, this is our lighting system. Now, those circles at the top are lights that we have, but they do not work. So those lights are useless right now. And we have to replace for the lights for the stage during our performance. We have to rewire our own lights that we get. And it's time consuming for when we have a performance. So these circles right up here are the ones that do not work. And right at 3 p.m., we must, during the last 2 weeks of practicing the bar performance, at 3 p.m., our directors set up lighting, they set up our sound system, because our schedule in the Performing Arts Department is surrounded by the athletics. Now, for long-term issues, it would be nice to have a whole section just for performing arts, just so that we are allowed to have that area to ourselves, so that students will not have to stay until 3 to 9. So that's our schedule during the last 2 weeks for our performance. And that's because the weeks before, we are not allowed to have an open gym. Right now, this is our electrical system, which has an issue at Bremen right now. Our students are no longer allowed to go up there. So these systems right here, we cannot use them. They are not well updated. They actually produce a shock right now, so only the directors are allowed to put equipment in there. So for long term, it would be nice for better updating of sound equipment and lighting equipment for all four schools in the district, and it would just save more time for practices as well, less hassle for the directors. I understand that Ryland's stage right now is in the gym. I believe Hillcrest and Oak Forest, their stage is in a cafeteria. The idea was brought up to have a cafetorium at Bremen. However, that would limit our space. So right now, if the cafetorium were to happen, the female students would have nowhere to change. Right now, we change backstage. Boys on that side, girls on that side, and it's just not comfortable for the female students. So I advise an idea that the female students have their own section, so just so they can safely change. And I wish for a section for throughout all 4 schools, just to have a restroom. And that is for the safety for the students as well, so that they feel more comfortable during the performance. At Bremen as well, right now we are facing the issue, since our doors are not opened at this moment, they're stationary. We actually have a situation where we have to put tables along our curtain. So these tables were put because while the male varsity baseball team were practicing, a baseball flew through a curtain and they went past the head through one of our students. So right now we have these tables aligned along the curtains.
Can I just ask you how much longer you have to actually read our time limit?
I can just email these to you and you guys can do it right now. That's all.
I do have some questions for you as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know if any work orders have been put in for these repairs?
Right now I was told that they are looking at the doors during spring break. And as well, we have the ladder issue that they will look at the doors as well. Flooring, right now, that's all I've heard. I did speak to others and
We're kind of at a disadvantage with the fine arts supervisor just recently passing away because do you understand that process?
So we met, you emailed me on Friday. We met Monday. She took me on a very interesting tour. So we had some short-term plans and some things that I think we can take care of over spring break. Some of these things are going to be addressed in the long term. Part of the stage is a wrestling room and a stage, which kind of limits that. So down the road, that's going to be addressed. But the issues up front, we're going to guarantee taken care of. And I will be visiting the other 3 schools. I was at Oak Forest today, have a similar tour and try to get an idea of what's going on there. Tinley and Hillcrest, as soon as I get a chance, I'll be there as well. So we'll come up with a good plan to make sure everybody's taken care of.
Ms. Flores, I just want to thank you. It really I do commend you for coming forward and sharing this information. You spend every day in the school buildings we go. So without hearing from you and seeing some of the challenges that you're being faced, it definitely is
concern will be addressed.
Okay, and I know when I spoke with Mr. Anderson, he did have a lot of concerns. One of the first things on the top of his list was, well, some of the things at the top of his list was the instrumentation and getting the funding for that. So I know that was something that was being worked on, and I'm not sure if he passed it on to. But thank you for your presentation. I appreciate you coming out and being bold and courageous and letting us know about this.
Now, Ms. Franklin and Ms. Kathy.
Good evening. Just to give you a brief overview, I've been in for 22 years. I had 2 kids that come out of Hillcrest, which I believe in. So I have one, my oldest daughter, she's 28, now she's a teacher from Hillcrest because of you all, okay? So now my niece who lives with me, we have an issue with our nephew, well, my nephew, which is her son. So being that my youngest daughter is 20 years old, I have laid back a little bit because I'm glad that I don't have to do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? Being an advocate for not only my own, but to my nephews and all. You know what I'm saying? My family members. So now we have an issue with my nephew because he's a freshman. He came in with an IEP. So he was, which we were very proud of him. I didn't know that he was in one class, which is what, Angela? Literacy class. But because of how he had, you know, at a very small age, he came and he told the teacher, because we try to make him be responsible, you understand? So word got around that he was in his class, he told the teacher ahead of time that he felt that this wasn't for him. You understand? He wasn't going to excel. It was just a bit too much. So time was, you know, went past, and then now he's failing the class. So he failed the class. So we feel, my niece and myself, that we don't want him not to fail Hillcrest, don't want to be pushed up under the bus. It's just that him being in the 9th grade, he told the teacher, and he wasn't accommodated. No, he wasn't listened to. So I know you all because I believe in Hillcrest. And some of us, I'm speaking to you all who have grown kids, we don't look at those things, not like I, because the fact that, you know, I'm a little laid back and I wasn't thinking about these things, but because of him, we want him to be where my niece, where my daughter, you know, my kids are. So I feel that you all should have some kind of program for kids who come in with the IEP. Not just only I'm speaking on him. My question is, how many more kids are in that class and not being accommodated? They don't have enough room, so they just in a class and they don't know where they are. And so, of course, naturally it's going to affect their grade point average, and then it's just that it's going to make them feel that they're not going to excel. Because if you get an F, how do you feel? And that's the class that he has to take. You know, so because I wasn't aware of that, so that's why I said, you know, I don't want my Mousy, well, his name is Miles, Mousy. I don't want him to feel that he can't excel. And I do believe in the system. So my question is there any kind of way that you all can accommodate the kids with IEP? Not that we want them to hinder them. We want them to grow. So if he was man enough, had guts enough to tell the teacher that it was too much, I felt the teacher should have went out her way to accommodate him, not just only him, but for the other kids, because we had meetings with the other teachers, and they said that they can't do anything about it. So we're here to ask, what do you all do with the kids that has the IEP?
Did you attend an IEP meeting and discuss this with?
Well, we haven't had this IEP meeting yet, but we had a meeting with the teachers, and they said that there was nothing they can do right now, but they took them out to the second class, and he gonna have to retake it next semester. They put him first, but they said they took him off the list. They took it off the list for that to accommodate kids with IEP.
Now, mind you, he came in with an IEP, so those kids, you know,
We thought that I thought it was by law that they.
Well, it depends on the specific issue of the child.
Did you give your information to Ms. DeMoss?
She has reached.
Okay. Lisa, sit down and let's work through this. And
But I just don't want it only to be with him.
No, I
So you
agree.
all need to take it down with all the schools
I
and
agree.
see. Because I myself, like I said, when I advocate, not just for my child, it's for others, because today is her child, tomorrow could be somebody else. So you have to look at not just for him, overall, because we get too little too lax. And we just don't want, we want our kids to excel, not fail. You know, so I don't want to be harsh. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to us. But I just want you all to be mindful that they want to get where we are. So you all can take the time some kind of way, not just, figure out, brainstorm what we need to do to help them. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me. You all have a beautiful evening.
Angela, your mom.
Is there anyone else that would like to? Run superintendent's reports.
Freedom of Information Act request is our last report meeting. Ms. Margaret McIntosh requested bid results for District 228 site improvements in synthetic field. This request has been completed. District Whiteboard, MERS 139, requested information collected, created, and are maintained by District 228, including all official district-wide math curriculum for Algebra 1 and geometry courses, honors, and college prep. A detailed outline with samples of what students in the above indicated courses are expected to learn in 2017-18, summative assessments or current summative test review, name of textbook scheduled for use in the 2017-18 school year, the math curriculum the math teachers use to plan their daily lessons, and the math meeting minutes for the months of December 2016 and January 2017. This request has been completed. Ms. Teresa Yoon of SEIU Local 1 requested copies of documents related to District 228's most recent RFP for food services, including the RFP bid submitted by the awarded contractor, the contract awarded for food services, the value of the food service contract, and the expiration date of the food service contract. This request has been completed. Later in tonight's meeting, the board will be authorizing staffing for the 2017-18 school year. The total staff is being reduced by one teacher. However, we are adding additional staff in the Student Support Services Department to address some imbalances in programming. This recommendation comes after hours of extensive creative planning and is both fiscally responsible and appropriate. I would like to thank and congratulate all of our administrators on a job well done. Our District 228 Spirit Showdown fundraiser was held at Hillcrest High School on March 9th. Our students and staff competed in dodgeball, drumline, school colors, tug of war, and guys dance at this event for an overall Spirit winner. Also included in the Spirit contest is the entry fee, which is a donation of one canned good. Tinley Park High School was the overall winner of this year's event, and I'm happy to report that more than 3,400 pounds of food was donated to Together We Cope. This is an additional 900 pounds of food from last year's event. I could not be more proud of our students and staff. The 43rd Annual District Fine Arts Fest took place on March 16th at Hillcrest High School. Our fine arts students and staff did a wonderful job highlighting their many talents in art and music. A heartwarming presentation was made to the family of Mr. Keith Anderson, our District Fine Arts Supervisor who passed away recently. The District Fine Arts Fest will now be called the Keith Anderson Fine Arts Festival in honor of Mr. Anderson. Thank you.
Any board members?
Just like to highlight some of the events that I was able to attend in the past month. I was at the Fine Arts Festival. It was a wonderful show of workmanship by our art students and our music students, and a great dedication to Keith Anderson's memory. I also attended the Hillcrest Fashion Show on Saturday night. I'd like to congratulate Della York and her team of parents, as well as the Hillcrest administrators who were all out there on a Saturday night supporting our students as they showcase their fashions. Finally, I attended the IASB meeting, and the topic for the night was school funding. Some of the things were not new to me. Unfortunately, in my years on the board, our ranking among the states in funding education has gone down. We are not dead last, 50 out of 50 states in funding public schools. There's some work that ISB is doing with our state legislature. Their goal is equitable funding. They've been working on a funding reform bill since 2014. They now have Senate Bill 16, which is going to be broken into different packages, what they were expressing to us. But along with this idea of equitable funding from schools comes some problems of school funding, which includes bills that would freeze property taxes, which is our main form of revenue, since the state does not pay their 50% that they're supposed to pay according to our state constitution. There's also a bill to take the teacher retirement pensions that are the responsibility of the state and put those back on the local taxpayers. And there's also a bill to raise the minimum wage. So funding public schools continues to be an issue. It's been an issue since my first day on this board, and I hope their equitable funding package has some form of reality in it. They seem to be working collaboratively with both parties, and hopefully something good will come of that. The future of our schools really depends on it. Thank you.
I also attended the District Fine Arts Festival. It was fantastic to see the kids and their performance. That was pretty much the cream of the crop as far as the art and the band and the jazz and all the kids that attended. It was very nice. And I don't know who came up with the idea of naming it the Keith Anderson Fine Arts Festival, but I just want to commend them and say thank you. He was a fine man and he'll be missed. Another event, our parent-teacher conference. I was not able to make this meeting last month, prior commitment. I just want to say, again, every time I attend a parent-teacher conference and go into my child's teacher's classrooms, I'm just amazed at what they do with these kids, and we have to continue to support them.
I attended the 50th anniversary of Hillcrest. Very well performed. The students were absolutely magnificent in serving us and really made us feel special that day. Appreciate that. I also want to say hi to Mr. Brown and Pastor Vincent, people, former board members that have put in countless hours on this board.
On February 25th, I attended the ISB Cook Division Winter Breakfast Meeting. They presented the Understanding Implications of Every Student Succeeds Act at the newly built Brookwood Middle School in Glenwood, Illinois. About 200 board members and several superintendents were in attendance. Susan Hilton works in the Department of Government Relations. She was the speaker for the day at ISB, and she coordinates the state legislative activities and oversees all federal advocacies. She gave the federal aspect of ESSA, and which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, or the Every Child Succeeds Act. Fresh off the press from the Alliance and Leadership Forum, which met the week before prior to her speaking engagement at the winter breakfast. She said that Governor Rauner was in attendance and he was basically in attendance to give his testimony when they were discussing how students will be evaluated. She gave examples on how to detect the growth model, academic versus non-academic performance, how to hold schools accountable, and she also gave information, a bit of information I want to share with you is that currently I believe we do 70% non-academic and 30% is evaluated for academic, such as tests and things of that nature. However, the governor came in for the sole purpose of stating that he wants to change this model to, he wants to make it 80% academic and 20% non-academic, which will have really sharp implications with the students, with the way that they are evaluated at this state. Other topics covered, she also gave her interpretation of Title IX, which covers the transgender students do what they need to do under Title IX. There was a rescinding order on Wednesday, so the state can have power to do what they need to do, or do what they do, as she stated. They also defined special education under IDEA. Also whether families have to exhaust funds, or they can also different things that they can do under the Public Act 99 and HB House Bill 3052. She truly had a wealth of information to give, just so much. It's just hard to keep it all in. But after the presentation, I was able to tour the state-of-the-art facility. They have a beautiful state-of-the-art new building. The old building was not able to accommodate the needs of the growing community, so they restructured a new one, and I was very impressed with the newness of everything. And they had inspirational quotes on just about any corridor wall that you went to. Each classes were highlighted with bright accented walls, red, yellow. Classroom desks were ergonomically designed for single traditional format as well as group activities. Also, I attended quite a bit, so I'll try to make it brief as possible. I also attended the celebrating 50 years of Hawk Pride at Hillcrest High School, which was from the front door to the back door, was wonderful. I was so impressed with the presentation the students made. They were just bar none, just wonderful. The way that they had decorated the cafeteria, I hardly could recognize it as a cafeteria when you walked in. The ambiance was wonderful. So some of the people, there were many alumnus there. Entertainment by Soraya, former student and contestant from the television vocal competition, sang a few selections. She was from The Voice. I don't know if you watched that, but she also was contesting from The Voice. State Representative Al Riley gave the resolution. Also in attendance was Markham Mayor David Webb, Alderman Ronald Jones, Mayor Bernard Alsbury, village trustee, as stated before, Representative Al Riley. Several alumnus and Hawk staff were in attendance. I also want to commend Jason Thomas. He was presented with Hillcrest Hawks award, and he was at every event that was here, he was there, and I got to speak with him briefly. He's doing a fantastic job empowering and educating students to become entrepreneurs now, not waiting to the future, but showing them how to become entrepreneurs now. I was further impressed by the servitude and the drive to ensure success in the students of Hillcrest. Also, I got to speak with some of the students, and some of them had been there the night before. This is the dedication of the students. I was just astonished at their dedication. They had been there, I believe they stated that they had been there since 8:30 a.m. the day of the alumnus dinner. And they had set up and everything all the way until after we left that night. It was just awesome. March 7th, I attended the Student Recognition Night at Hillcrest High School. There, where our students from our 4 area high schools, students, freshmen, seniors, were recognized for their accomplishments. I also enjoyed hearing selections by Blue Soul, which was wonderful to hear. Introductions given by the students, each student at each school. One of the outstanding statements was Dillinger, and he gave an inspirational speech how he took pride in his school, how he went from the optimism of the freshman year now to his senior year and accomplishing many goals. March 9th, I attended the Hauser-Izzo breakfast in which they gave an update on the laws and recent changes to the explanation of current issues. The transgender guidelines changed, but the laws stay the same. Explanation of ESSA again and ECSA, which is the Every Student Succeeds. Truancy, homelessness, relationships with officers. I also attended the ISB dinner meeting, which was, they also had a briefing for all the candidates. The topic this year meeting was responding to budgetary funding, impacts of Illinois by Dr. Michael Jacoby, as you've already heard from Mrs. Gleason, as well as Juanita Jordan spoke, and if anybody has ever heard her speak, she's a phenomenal woman. She has spoken, and she's she's the resolutions chair. She speaks about many of the things that is going on in legislation with much clarity. Also, the Cook Division delegates were recognized for their time and service to ISB. June 21st is the resolution deadline. The next South Cook Division Governing Board meeting will be scheduled for June 28, 2017 in Harvey, School District 152. March 16th, I attended the newly named Keith Anderson Fine Arts Festival. This is such a wonderful time of year for several reasons, but the highlights of the evening is the naming of the ceremony presentation of the life and times of Keith Anderson, a very touching moment for the night. One of the students created the whole slideshow to my knowledge and did an outstanding job. The artwork was absolutely stunning. The students' work looked like seasoned artists. Displayed were paintings, sculptures, photography, etching, and various other mediums. My children enjoyed going around and showing me their favorites pieces and talking about the artwork. I also have the privilege of going around getting to speak with the artists themselves, explaining their personal inspiration for their pieces. The music was really wonderful. I enjoyed hearing the bands play and the choir singing. My children were excited to hear some of the music sang from familiar Disney movies such as Mulan. And that is all I have.
Real quick, I just want to say I attended the Fine Arts Festival as well. It was an amazing event all the way around. I'd also like to recognize the Ferrara family too for the scholarships that they provide to our students every year. I think that's a tremendous opportunity for the children of our district.
I'd like to echo a lot of what you've heard already. There's a lot of going on in the district right now. Just want to congratulate Nick Rochek and the Oak Forest Jazz Program. I attended their Jazz Night Festival. It was a wonderful night. They did a great job. Great baskets and raffles that they had going on over there. Also, April 4th election is coming up. I just want to wish all the candidates best of luck, especially my incumbents. Thank you very much.
I also attended several events. The annual Spirit Showdown won by 2 this year, if it's heard. I don't think they could have fit one more person in that facility. It was crowded. And it was not just supported by the staff, the students. There were many members of the community that just came out to participate in it, so that's great to see. At Student Recognition Night, it's amazing to hear all the students praise and show appreciation for their teachers. Also this month, our schools participated in Miracle Minute fundraisers, and students raised almost $4,600 for various causes. Revenue collected on behalf of St. Baldrick's Foundation for Childhood Cancer in memory of fellow student Paula Sembrano. I wanted to say a special shout out to, who's the teacher that has raised $25,000 for St. Baldrick's? Dave, do you know?
That's right.
And now Mr. Strine for his contributions. They had two family, friends, people from the community come in and support us on that. And I'm going to echo Terry Stevens every time I see him, that he just is so exuberant, and, you know, we have great kids, we have great teachers, we have great community, great schools. This is what makes this all happen, so I'd like to echo that. Tim Jones Day, alumni of Tinley, was, I believe, Saturday. If you remember, he's a Park Forest police officer that got shot last year. Was not expected to survive the first several hours, and I'm getting goosebumps. Now he's actually going to the gym, talking, and giving his dad a heart attack because he says he's coming back to work. So, shouts out to Tim. I also enjoyed watching Hillcrest at their super sectional contest. Very good game. They should be very proud of themselves. I don't know if they're aware, but while sitting in our little section, I talked to people from Naperville, Aurora, Oak Forest, Bolingbrook, Oswego, Oak Brook, who came out to support the Hawks. Just because they are impressed with their abilities. So that was really awesome. Fine Arts Festival, again, so impressed with the talents of the students. And again, I wish they had the opportunity to sell that stuff because there was several I would purchase right on the spot. For Miss Flores, for the community at large, I just donated my kids' instruments that they no longer play. I don't know if anyone has those sitting around in your basement or attic. My kids are in their 30s and don't ever touch them, so they've been donated to the district. I encourage others to do that as well. I'd also like to share a letter that was written to the Board of Education. It's from the president of the Teachers Union, Kevin Donegan. This letter is in response to comments made at the board meeting held on February 21st at Tinley Park High School during the board report. The executive board of the Joint Faculty Association is concerned about board members involving staff to act as go-betweens for any interactions between other board members, personal or professional. We specifically ask that all members of the Board of Education adhere to the taken oath and follow the code of conduct defined in the District 228 board policy. In doing so, no staff member should be pressured explicitly or implicitly to communicate messages from one board member to another. So we are aware of what in here. And we'll move on to finance.
Thank you. Okay. Finance Committee met on Monday, March 13th. The meeting was called to order at 7:01. Present were myself, Mr. Canning, Mrs. Camworth, and Mr. O'Malley. Absent were none. Guests included Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Carol Brooks. For the March bills, interest funds, and deposits, the committee reviewed and discussed the March bills, interest expenditures, and deposits. These items have been reviewed with the superintendent, who, along with the finance committee, is recommending full board approval of the March bills, addendum to bills, interest expenditures, and deposits. There were no over $5,000 purchase orders. CDS bills, the committee reviewed the CDS March bills totaling $50,653.99. The finance committee has reviewed these items and, along with the superintendent, is recommending full board approval of the CDS March bills as presented.
Thank you.
Oh, not done, sorry. I had to scroll down. The finance, this is the audit engagement agreement. The finance committee reviewed and discussed the agreement for Matheson, Moisky, Austin and Company to perform the fiscal year 2017 audit for the district at a cost of $20,700. This vendor has provided quality service to the district for the past 5 years. This firm is also utilized by the Township Treasurer's Office, which reduces the cost of the audit. The Finance Committee, along with the Superintendent, is recommending full board approval of the audit engagement agreement with Matheson, Moisky, Austin and Company. PTAB, Mid-America Asset Management. The Finance Committee discussed the PTAB pertaining to Mid-America Asset Management located at 3340 West 183rd Street. The district attorney has negotiated a settlement that reduces the revenue loss to the district from $48,101 to $12,357, saving the district over $35,000. The Finance Committee, along with the Superintendent, is recommending full board approval of the PTAB settlement per the recommendation of the attorney. Next meeting is scheduled for April 10th, 2017 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Center, and we were adjourned at 7:12 p.m.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Student Service Committee meeting met Monday, March 13th. Meeting was called to order at 5:32 p.m. Roll call, myself, Mrs. Gleason, Mrs. Jones, and Dr. Goggins. Absent was none. Guest was Mrs. Stearns. Communication none. Old business none. New business Dr. Goggins presented the following handbook changes and recommendations. One, the section on measures under F is to read as follows. Notifying juvenile authorities or other law enforcement whenever it's necessary. Number two, the section on cell phone and other electronic devices to read as follows. Cannot be used in the classroom unless permission from the classroom teacher. Number three, the section on dress standard under E, remove the last sentence in the paragraph. Number four, the section on consequences of academic dishonesty. Remove the entire section and replace it with academic dishonesty will be handled by the classroom teacher, coordination with the administration. Number five, the section on participation rules, school attendance, and AD to read the following. Otherwise, reasons as approved by the administration. After review all recommendation handbook changes, the committee agrees to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. Discussion was none, announcement none. Our next meeting is to be announced.
Personnel met on Monday, March 13th at 6:30. Everyone was present. Ms. Campbell, Ms. Jones were guests. Dr. Guidance presented the following certificated staff recommendations for discussion. At Bremen, the approval of the retirement request for a counselor, the acceptance of the resignation of a full-time substitute, the approval of the employment of a bilingual tutor. At Hillcrest, the approval of the retirement request for the principal, and the approval of the employment of a math tutor, a learning center facilitator, and an English tutor. For Forest, the approval of the paternity leave request for a science teacher. And for review of all certificated staff items, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. He also presented the following educational support personnel recommendations for discussion. At Bremen, the approval of an employment of a night supervisor and the approval of the maternity leave request for a bilingual aide. For Forest, the acceptance of the resignation of a part-time supervisor secretary and the approval of the employment of a weekend custodian. The district office, the acceptance of the retirement of the executive secretary to the assistant superintendent for personnel student services, and after review of all educational support personnel items, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. Dr. Gaggins also presented the following additional employment position recommendations for discussion. At Bremen, a full-time counselor and full-time social worker psychologist. For Hillcrest, they have full-time counselor, of course they have time counselor. After review of the additional employment position recommendations, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. The next meeting is April 10th at 6:30 at the Ed Center, and our meeting adjourned at 6:15. And move on to new business.
Thank you, Ms. Stearns. Board members, item 10.1 pertains to our monthly bills, the addendum bills, payroll, and CES bills. The Finance Committee, along with the Superintendent, are recommending those this evening.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Russell, second. Ms. Jones, any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Camworth? Aye. Ms. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.2 pertains to our audit engagement agreement for our fiscal year 2017 audit. The recommendation from the Finance Committee and Superintendent is to continue utilizing Matheson, Moisey, and Austin to perform that audit.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Jones, second by Ms. Russell, any discussion? Now, we